So FIFA have confirmed SAFA's protest will be submitted to the Disciplinary Committee, and Ghana FA have also been ordered to add their input by 20 November 2021. Meanwhile, South African SA Rugby's Director of Rugby, Rassie Erasmus, has been suspended from all rugby activities for 2 months by World Rugby. To discuss these two issues, we're joined by eNCA Sports Editor Vata Ngobeni. Vata, good evening. Are you well, sir?
Evening, Tony. What a sports news day.
It's been busy, hasn't it?
It's been extremely busy. And even, I think quite disheartening was obviously the sad news of the passing of former SASCOC CEO Tabiredi and former Springbok prop Yannick du Plessis losing his 1-year-old son through a drowning. So it's been a very disheartening day in the world of sport.
Very true. So our condolences to the Reddy family and also du Plessis family as well for those losses. Okay, let's talk about football. I mean, this is just a disgrace to a certain extent, what we saw happen over the weekend in terms of the Ghana versus Bafana. What's the very latest?
The latest is that FIFA has finally responded to Bafana's or SAFA's protest, and the big news is that they've set a date, which is the 20th, for all submissions, and they've obviously invited Ghana to submit any documentation or any evidence to what SAFA is protesting about, which should be very, very interesting, Tony, because here we're sitting with, I think, an overwhelming amount of evidence that was presented today by SAFA, led by SAFA President Daniel Don, with the assistance of former FIFA referee eNCA. And eNCA, I mean, really, the stats he put up today were quite shocking. When you're sitting with a 90.9% error rate, of which that is against Bafana, and then on top of that, a dubious penalty that got Ghana through. So again, it's about the influence. It's the influencing of a result of a game that's now coming to the spotlight, and obviously the referee's actions through the game, through the course of the game, not just citing the penalty on its own, because the penalty itself is not enough to lodge a protest. I think it is all the decisions that he made. They were called to be biased. There were the allegations that they were biased, and without a doubt, they were there to influence the outcome of that match.
And what's critical about the penalty, not the like you're saying, not the on-field play itself, but it's everything else around it because of the betting, isn't it? And that was part of that evidence. Just take us through that.
Part of that evidence, Daniel Don led that part of the evidence, saying obviously they've consulted widely, and again, when you look at just before the penalty was awarded, there was a spike in the betting. And that in itself gives an indication that there could be some sort of either match fixing or the bookies know something that they could have only discussed either with the players or with the FA, or whoever was involved, or the match officials themselves. So I think there's a lot of dots, and if you connect them, they only lead to one conclusion, and that there was just something untoward about what happened in that match at Coast City. Tony, and it's so unfortunate because we've seen something like this before. Going back to South Africa versus Senegal in 2018 in Polokwane, SAFA were the first to pick up their hands and say, listen, we knew nothing about the officiating there. And they accepted that, or the outcomes of FIFA, and the game was replayed. Bafana lost, and Senegal went through to the Russian World Cup. Again, there the referee, who was Ghanaian referee, got a life ban from football. So it just doesn't look good for the officials of this game. And if there's evidence that there's anyone else involved in this, it scares me to think, Tony, the fallout that will come out from this, especially for African football.
It's because the thing about that particular penalty, Vata, is that if there are any shenanigans taking place, because if you bet and say, listen, I'm betting on a penalty in such and such a minute or a particular period of a game, that means somebody has to be in the box at that particular time to influence that penalty as well, isn't it? So it might not just be the referee. It's basically what you're trying to say, isn't it? That could be in on this thing.
Yeah, Tony, I think.
If, without going too deep into this. So let's